Past and present life plus various variety shows in the entertainment industry plus mysticism plus Su Shuangtian. 1,000 years ago, on the day of Shen Runing's wedding, the groom died of illness and jumped off a cliff with her husband. And when Shen Runing was reborn into the entertainment industry's sweeping star, 1,000 years later, she participated in the slow variety show as scheduled but unexpectedly discovered that her former husband had become the husband of the whole nation in this life. Shen Runing. What kind of universal husband? That's my husband. The first time we met, Shen Runing pressed Jiang Zhuyu against the door and said seductively, "Believe it or not, Shen Runing and Jiang Zhuyu's names will definitely be written on the same marriage certificate." After Jiang Zhuyu was quiet for 2 seconds, he said, "Are you confessing to me?" "No, I'm notifying you." When various cases came to her doorstep, Shen Runing firmly established the title of Sweeping Star and fought invincibly in the world. Unexpectedly, she became the only user of the Xianmen ancient method. Shen Runing. I have to say that this was used by your ancestors to pursue me before, do you believe it? Xianmen 100 Schools. Master, please don't keep a low profile. It's useless to fabricate stories to deceive us. This is a story of mutual redemption. In the early days, the female protagonist was a mischievous little tyrant. Later, she had friends who cared about her and was influenced by her loved ones, using her own actions to prove her worth. Keywords of the novel. After being hacked by the entire network, I followed my husband on slow comprehensive live without a pop-up window. After being hacked by the entire network, I downloaded the complete TV series of slow comprehensive live chasing my husband. After being hacked by the entire network, I read the latest chapter of slow comprehensive live chasing my husband. Chapter 1. Rebirth of the entertainment industry's sweeping stars. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Rebirth of the entertainment industry's sweeping stars. I said, what's the point of this? You're not someone who doesn't know your own physique. They've given you the nickname entertainment industry's top loser. You've helped them, but now they're biting you back. Alright, you've become the one shouting and killing all over the internet. Do you know how many netizens are shouting to get you out of the entertainment industry now? I have no choice, your endorsers are trying to terminate your contract, and you can only face huge compensation. The people who used to come to you for filming have all run away, and now you only have the only variety show left, Return to Simplicity. Shen Runing had just woken up and directly pounded her head with her fist, causing it to explode in pain. Who is this person? Nonsense, didn't she jump off a cliff and die? Oh, my ancestor. Don't beat her. Yao Meng's face turned white with fear as she watched her behavior. She immediately ran over and held down her hands. You're my ancestor. What the hell are you doing? You're not smart, you still beat yourself. Do you want tomorrow's hot search to surprise you? Hashtag actress Shen Runing beat herself to death in the hospital. Hashtag. Shen Runing, whose hands were held down, originally had a hint of anger in her eyes, but upon hearing her words, the anger turned into confusion. All she could see were things she didn't know. Where was she? Her head seemed to be smashed by a flower pot, and suddenly something that didn't belong to her appeared in her mind. She, Shen Runing, a demon girl in the chaotic world, seems to have regained her body after losing it for 1,000 years. No, it's not right. The act of taking over was done by a fierce ghost. She just jumped off a cliff and didn't even become a ghost, let alone have any thoughts of taking over. Ning, can we stop making trouble? Yao Meng looked at Shen Runing with concern, as if looking at her own child. Don't worry about the gossip outside, leave it to me. You'll be well healed. Are you ready to participate in Return to Simplicity next week? This is really your last chance. If you make any more fuss, you'll really have to get out of the entertainment industry. As she spoke, Yao Meng's phone rang and she hurriedly answered it. For me. Okay, I got it, I'll be right there. Ning, please rest well. I'll go back to the company to handle your affairs first. Please let me know what you want to eat, and I'll have my assistant deliver it to you. Shen Runing on the hospital bed blinked her breathtaking eyes and watched her leave in confusion. She finally understood all the causes and consequences. The woman in front of me is her agent and the only one who truly treats her. I will try to hate her hard. Shen Runing, who was originally a minor actress in the 18th tier, played to the point where she couldn't play anymore. However, due to a lawsuit with her ex-boyfriend, she rose to fame and became known on the internet. Everyone felt that she dared to love and hate, so she had a good impression of her. Who knew that the journey of the stars would continue to decline, with various black materials entangled? Born with an unlucky physique, sometimes even able to affect others, jokingly referred to as the entertainment industry's loser. But she had a overflowing kindness, and the cause of the accident this time was when she saw an old lady crossing the road about to be hit. She rushed out desperately to push the old lady away, but was killed by the collision. But the old lady's family bit her to death with one bite. She had a dispute with her wife, which caused her to have a car accident. The reason was that she was not compatible with her family, and that old lady was her distant relative. And the old lady's life is on the line now. In the ICU, she can't wake up. This incident has caused a stir throughout the internet, and countless people are cursing her, all eager for her death. And the fact did indeed fulfill their wish. The original Shen Runing died. Shen Runing touched her chin and pondered. In this way, she won't be considered a loss, at most she will be able to borrow a corpse to revive her soul. I touched my painful head. Her pale lips trembled lightly as she spat out two words. Fool. Knowing that one has an unlucky physique and still wants to be a bad person, the current outcome is self-inflicted. However, she is not a big fool like the original owner. It is impossible for her to do good things. She touched her chest and felt something strange there. After silently reciting a mnemonic, she drank softly. Come out now. In front of her, another Shen Runing, condensed into shape, with only the upper half of her body illusory, and her lower body shrouded in a black mist. This person is the original Shen Runing. Her beautiful face has now been shattered, with half of it covered in scratches from a car accident and stained with mud, which is terrifying. Remnants. Shen Runing whispered. What other wishes do you still have? If the original owner's obsession cannot be completely eliminated, this obsession will always be with her, and she will never be able to perfectly integrate into this body, naturally unable to restore her power. I want revenge, she stuttered, spitting out a mouthful of black gas every time she said a word. The whole body was shrouded in black evil energy. Shen Runing pinched her fingers and calculated, and then she understood. That's why. The original owner had his luck taken away by someone, no wonder he was so unlucky. And not only was their luck taken away by others, but they also lowered their heads, making it impossible to transcend even after death. After the original owner's death, I also discovered the mysteries of the heavens and knew about them, which is why I left behind a persistent desire for revenge. I promise to avenge you, and I will not spare anyone who has hurt you. As a reward for using your body for rebirth, how about sending you for reincarnation? Who knew that the original owner shook his head in a wooden tone and said, I'm already unable to conceive. She was heavily eroded by the evil energy, and her soul was incomplete, leaving only a trace hidden within her body. The result of waiting for her was a complete loss. Shen Runing's fingers quickly formed complex gestures, causing the space to be torn apart. A vortex gate opened up in the void on the wall opposite her, and Ning Qi pushed the original owner into the vortex gate with a palm. I said you can, you can. After the original owner entered, the vortex gate closed. Shen Runing covered her heart and coughed twice, with a sweet and fishy taste in her throat. I can't bear this broken body just for a moment. Shen Runing's thin figure suddenly lay on the bed, with a head of jet black hair casually draped around her side. Her face turned pale and she looked like a broken beauty. But those eyes were tinged with a hint of crimson, filled with a fierce aura. With her fingertips pinching out the trick and closing her eyes, her divine sense was also rapidly passing through the vast world. Finally, she landed in a magnificent office with two people whose faces could not be seen clearly and their conversations could not be heard. However, she saw a few large characters written on the contract placed on the table. Return to simplicity. With the return of divine consciousness, Shen Runing suddenly realized that this matter may not be simple. People who can hide their destiny are people with some abilities. How could the original owner be related to such people? Putting her hands behind her head, she smiled playfully at the corners of her mouth, and then she went to meet those ghosts and gods for a while. She suddenly withdrew her smile from the corners of her mouth and stared at the ceiling, with a hint of bitterness in her eyes. Even after experiencing so much wind and rain, he was the first to stand in front of him when he was surrounded. Finally, they welcomed their grand wedding. But who could have imagined that on Shen Runing's wedding day, waiting for her was the groom's body falling, and all the clans gathered to besiege her. She suddenly sat up from the bed. Since she could be reborn, should Jiangzhuyu also be reborn? She needs to find a way to look for it. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Ghost Sees Sorrow. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Ghost Sees Sorrow. With this in mind, the phone next to her rang, and she took it and saw that the caller ID was Yao Meng. She answered the call. I forgot to tell you earlier that you should stay obediently in the hospital and not run around. I just found out that the old lady is also in the same hospital as you. If someone finds out that you also live here, you will definitely be smashed with rotten eggs. Yao Meng quickly gave a warning and hung up after a few words. As soon as the phone hung up, Shen Runing saw a Weibo push that mentioned the 3 words Shen Runing. She hesitated and clicked on it. Inside is a video of the mother.in.law's son and daughter.in.law crying in front of the camera. The daughter.in.law of the old lady said, "Our family and Shen Runing's family are distant cousins. Shen Runing herself and her family can't get along well, and she even bullied my mother because she's famous now." The son of the old lady said, "Shen Runing's mother can't contact her, so please ask my mother to persuade her if she sees her. It seems like her younger brother wants to study but he really doesn't have money, so he wants to borrow some money from her." However, Shen Runing blocked her and couldn't contact her. Who knew Shen Runing would treat my mother like that? She's completely depraved. A jade-like fingertip slid down and flipped into the comments section. Oh, I really didn't expect Shen Runing to be such a person. How could she do it? She's a 70-year-old man. The damn person is Shen Runing. Why is she still alive? I used to like her face before, it's so disgusting. Shen Runing died for me. Image. JPG, the accompanying picture is a black and white photo of Shen Runing, with a circle of white flowers on it. Shen Runing touched her chin, and a hint of cunning flashed through her sparkling watery eyes. After nightfall, she removed the needle from the back of her hand, walked out of the hospital room, and closed her eyes. When he opened his eyes again, a pair of eyes were tinged with eerie vermilion, resembling a demon-like charm. Looking around the hospital, she found that the 7th floor had the heaviest energy. After quickly reaching the 7th floor, she looked around and it was as she had imagined. The 7th floor of the ICU is inhabited by people closest to the Grim Reaper, who gather extraordinary energy all year round. At this moment, an old lady is hovering at the entrance of the ICU. The old lady has a small blood hole on her head, which is not too serious. She is now supporting her waist and standing at the entrance of the ICU. Through the memory of the original owner, Shen Runing knew that the person in front of her was the old lady she had saved, as well as her distant relative, Qin Granny. "What are you doing at the door, mother.in.law?" Shen Runing asked softly. As soon as the old lady heard someone call her, she immediately responded, "That's great. Finally, someone paid attention to me. I called for a long time before, but no one paid attention to me. Everyone seemed to be unable to see me. I don't know how my waist has been dripping lately, it's hurting too much. I wanted to see a doctor, but after dying, I refused. Shen Runing nodded clearly. Fortunately, she arrived in time. If she were a little later, the old lady might really lose her temper. The old lady only had one last breath left and her spirit had departed. Grandma, I know some massage techniques. Let me help you need them. Grandma Chen's face lit up with joy upon hearing the words, and she turned around to hold on to Shen Runing, her object on her back. Thank you very much, little girl. Shen Runing suddenly lifted her palm and patted the old lady's back. With this thrust, the old lady rushed into the ICU and landed steadily into her own body. The old lady on the hospital bed took a deep breath, her breathing became louder and smoother. In my memory, Grandma Chen was a reasonable and good person, but her son and daughter-in-law were not such good people. If Grandma Chen died, the dirty water on her body would not be able to be washed away. After successfully solving the problem, Shen Runing patted her hands and leisurely returned to her own ward. Her figure had just disappeared when two figures suddenly appeared at the entrance of the ICU in the hospital. A black and white figure drifted in like a ghost, both dressed in neat and clean suits. The white one has a tattoo on its neck that reads, "Making money at first sight." The black one has a tattoo on its neck that says "Peace under heaven." They are ghosts from the underworld, known as Black and White Impermanence. Black Wuchang arrived at a place but did not feel any ghostly aura. He frowned and took out his latest fruit machine, instantly unfolding 3 transparent screens in front of him. Isn't there a ghost here? However, on the phone screen, the 3 words, Qin Guifan, that were originally displayed were gradually disappearing before their eyes. Black Wuchang patted his phone and said, "Isn't it? The fruit machine I just bought broke down." Bai Wuchang took out his fruit machine expressionlessly, without the words, Qin Guifan. They are certain that they did not misread earlier, and there is definitely this person on the task list. Our phones are specially customized and can be directly connected to the Life and Death book. It is impossible for the Life and Death book to go wrong unless there is intervention from a special force. Bai Wuchang half squinted his eyes, feeling particularly familiar with what was happening before him. I remember 1,000 years ago, a similar problem occurred in the Book of Life and Death. Black Wuchang stiffened all over and denied, "Are you saying ghosts see sorrow? It's impossible. She has been dead for 1,000 years and her bones are rotten. No matter what's going on, we need to report it to our superiors as soon as possible." When Shen Runing returned to the ward, she passed by the nurse's desk. Now everyone was asleep, and the nurse had a rare rest. Several nurses leaned their heads together to look at a mobile phone. Jiang Zhuyu is really handsome. When will I be able to see him in person? I thought gentleness was a persona, but I didn't expect him to be so gentle in private. He's just a super warm-hearted man. Reaching the familiar name, Shen Runing instinctively paused and approached the nurse station with a stiff expression. "Did you just say, Jiang Zhuyu?" The nurse looked up and kindly explained, "Yes, we have Jiang Zhuyu in Return to Simplicity, which looks quite good. If you're bored, you can also take a look." The nurse also kindly lifted her phone to show her the magnified handsome face of Jiang Zhuyu on the screen. He stood under his gaze, with a tall and slender figure as loose as a pine tree, deep and cold eyebrows and eyes. His amber-colored pupils exuded an imperceptible and distant coldness, but he was born with a raised tail of his eyes, a slightly curved corner of his mouth, and a warm and approachable appearance. At this moment, his hands are covered in soil, pulling garlic sprouts in the countryside. Shen Runing's breath froze, her heart pounded like thunder. Just now, it was just a fleeting glance, almost making her feel like she had passed away. It's like we've never been apart before. He didn't fall into his own arms, dying. He was like before, coming over the next moment to grab his hand. But now they are separated by the screen, and on the other end of the TV, he doesn't know he's watching. The name and appearance are the same. Can he be her Jiangzhuyu? They just said what the program was called, only close observation can tell if that person is her Jiangzhuyu. She needs to find a way to participate. Immediately get your phone and call Yao Meng when you return to the room. As soon as the phone was connected, she took the initiative. I want to go on, return to simplicity. Yao Meng on the other end of the phone was stunned as she looked at her phone and said, "Are you drowsy? You were supposed to be on that program." End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Qin Grandma appears. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 3. Qin Grandma appears. On the day Shen Runing was discharged from the hospital, her agent's assistant came to pick her up, but the car was on the first floor and she needed to go downstairs on her own. At this moment, all the reporters who had been surrounding the hospital suddenly rushed to surround Shen Runing. Shen Runing, will you be responsible to the old lady? It is said that the old lady is dying in the emergency room. Will your conscience be condemned? If your wife really dies, you will be fully responsible. Shen Runing was pointed at by a camera, and major journalists were all holding microphones to confront her. Shen Runing was almost hit, and she impatiently took several steps back. Her furrowed brows could even trap a few flies. Stay away from me. She hates anyone approaching her except Jiangzhuyu. However, the reporters still refused to listen and used various unpleasant language on Shen Runing. Will you step back from the circle after doing such a thing? What do you think of the online insults? At this moment, two people outside the camera rushed into the frame and cried at Shen Runing. This person is the daughter-in-law of an old lady. The daughter-in-law's face was marked with tears, looking very sad, and her son's face turned red with anger, with a sharp and sarcastic expression on her face. The reporter seemed to smell the fly asking, and quickly asked the other person, "May I ask how my mother-in-law's body is now?" My daughter-in-law wept and said, "What else can we do? Living in the ICU, my life is hanging on the line, and there's no breath coming in or going out. This damn Shen Runing, our family was already struggling to make ends meet. Now my mother is lying there every day, starting at 10,000 every day. What should we do?" The old lady's son was also furious. "Shen Runing, my mother used to be good to you, but you could even do this. You are really ruthless." The barrage of comments from netizens also filled the entire screen. Undoubtedly, it's Shen Go. After such a thing happened, she was so wealthy and didn't even take the initiative to help take on some responsibility. Isn't this her responsibility? Shen Go has caused harm to others. Do you still want her to take out the money? Are you joking? At least it's also a family affair. Shen Runing is so wealthy, can we borrow some money? You didn't watch the video of the two of them before, did you? Shen Go refused to even borrow money from his own younger brother to study. As a distant relative, do you think Shen Go can take care of their life and death? The old lady's daughter-in-law also cried more and more sadly, burying her entire face in her husband's arms and crying uncontrollably. The reporters present were all sympathetic and loudly condemning Shen Runing. It was necessary to seek justice. Who knew that at this moment, a person suddenly walked out of the hospital gate, with grey hair and a kind face. It was the old lady who was still in the ICU that my daughter-in-law had just mentioned, who walked in with high spirits. What are you doing here? What are you doing around Xiaoning? The old lady looked at the crowd with suspicion, then at Shen Runing, whose head was still wrapped in gauze. It seemed that she had been injured quite badly. All of this was done to save herself, and she felt heartbroken upon seeing it. At the moment when the old lady appeared, the son and daughter-in-law suddenly felt bad, and it was too late to take the old lady away. The reporter saw that the old lady who had just said, "Life hanging on the line, there is no breath coming in or out," now standing in front of him with full confidence, smelling an unusual smell, and quickly handed the microphone to the old lady. "Grandma, aren't you still in the ICU due to your poor health? The old lady's face didn't show any concern. I used to live there, but I'm already fine and nothing serious. Fortunately, Xiaoning pulled me up and I wasn't seriously injured. It was Xiaoning who tried to save me. Look at this, her head was smashed. Oh, my goodness, my heart hurts me so much. The son and daughter. Law of the old lady. Audience. The reporter was horrified in his heart, and he suddenly felt something was wrong. He wanted to turn off the camera, but now it's live streaming. Turning it off at this moment is equivalent to covering up the situation, so he can only continue to ask with a stiff face. Grandma, did you remember wrong? Didn't Shen Runing harm you? The old lady frowned and looked at the reporter with a disdainful expression. What are you talking about, young man? My old lady is old and her eyes are not working well. When she crossed the street, she didn't look at the traffic lights. Xiao Ning pushed me away to save me. I can still distinguish between right and wrong. You kids just talk nonsense when you know something. Ren Xiaoning is a good girl who always wrongs her every day. People like you who chew their tongues will go to hell in the future. The old lady's son quickly stopped his mother and said, Mom. Everyone, my mom's brain was damaged in this car accident. It's unbelievable to speak. Who knew that upon hearing these words, the old lady became unwilling and even resisted and struggled. You just smashed your brain. I'm very clear-headed, and it was Xiao Ning who helped me. As he spoke, he slapped his son and said, Stinky kid, are you having some bad idea again? The audience was stunned at this moment. So, it wasn't Shen Runing who harmed the old lady, was it Shen Runing who saved her? Oh my goodness, isn't this true? The old lady herself came out to speak, making it clear that this family was trying to mislead Shen Runing. The reporter quickly asked, Isn't it because you went to borrow money from Shen Runing for her mother and she didn't want to push you? With these words, the old lady, who had already been taken to the door by her son, immediately protested and returned to the camera, loudly saying, What help? How could I help that family's heartless liver? Xiaoning was the one I watched grow up with. When I was young, she was as thin as a bamboo pole, and I secretly gave her things to eat. I treated her like a half-granddaughter, so I wouldn't help that family's black-hearted heart. She wouldn't harm me either. Where did you all hear all this nonsense? The truth came to light, and the old lady was so angry that her saliva almost flew onto the journalist's face. Everyone has to believe that this is the truth. If it's a script, on the contrary, her son and daughter. Law are more like a script. So not only did we curse the wrong person, but we also assisted Zhou in his tyranny. Is it still possible for me to apologize now? But why hasn't Shen Runing responded? You can't blame us entirely for this matter, can you? Some netizens find it difficult to accept that they actually stood in the wrong team, embarrassingly shifting the blame and saying so. Finally, I found a fan of Shen Runing amidst the cracks, she said weakly. You haven't given Ning Ning a chance to explain, and she had such a serious car accident. I don't even know if she woke up. How can we explain? Shen Runing, who had witnessed all the twists and turns, didn't say a word throughout, but she just watched with a sarcastic smile and remained silent. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. I don't want to forgive you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. I don't want to forgive you. She watched as an outsider as these journalists, along with the old lady's son and daughter. Law, acted here. All the reporters felt that their faces were burning and they wanted to ask those two people again, but they had already entered the hospital and did not send any inquiries. Everyone could only give up. Have you forgotten something? Shen Runing glanced coldly at the people present. The reporters looked at each other, unaware that they had made a mistake. Shen Ru stared coldly and said, Don't you need to apologize to me for falsely accusing me just now? Upon hearing these words, the journalists immediately turned pale like pig liver. They have become the norm to criticize Shen Runing, but it would be a bit embarrassing to ask them to apologize to her. But now it's in the live broadcast. If we don't do this, we will definitely be scolded to death by everyone. After weighing the pros and cons, everyone apologized to Shen Runing. I'm sorry Shen Runing, we misunderstood the villain's words and wrongly accused you. A cold sneer escaped from the corner of Shen Runing's mouth. When these people falsely accused others, they were enthusiastic, but now when apologizing, their hearts are divided and they don't know how to insult themselves. It's a pity that the original owner lost his life at such a young age. But what should I do? I don't want to forgive you. After putting down this sentence, the assistants also came back. Shen Runing walked over to prepare to get in the car. A person behind him roared angrily, we didn't mean to, what else do you want? How is it going? At the next moment, the car slowly driving down from the parking lot suddenly turned and almost collided towards this side. The crowd suddenly dispersed in fear, in a state of embarrassment. The driver came down and apologized repeatedly, saying that he didn't know what was wrong and the steering wheel was out of control. Shen Runing spoke softly, if the driver just hit you and told you he didn't mean to, would you forgive him? The speaker is speechless. Shen Runing turned around and left. After this incident, Shen Runing didn't make much fuss and was discharged and returned to her own apartment. Open the door according to memory. Opening the door, Shen Runing was a bit surprised by the layout inside, hesitating to put it down and salute. Her home is very spacious, especially the large piece of floor-to-ceiling glass that illuminates the entire living room. There is also a large window in the room, and she seems to particularly like brightness. She loves light so much, but it doesn't shine a single inch on her, enveloping her in boundless darkness. Shen Runing grabbed the photos placed on the cabinet. The girl's smile in the photo blooms like a delicate flower, both charming and sweet. Behind her was a vast sea of flowers, smiling so happily and brilliantly, as if the world had faded away. She lives a sunny life despite being constantly subjected to cyberbullying and having such a family, and she is very enthusiastic about decorating her own life. The layout kits at home are all warm-toned, and there are also many girlish ornaments. It is evident how much this person loves their life. But it was this person who died for helping others, but no one knew and instead suffered endless insults. Those people even wished to lie on her and eat her meat and drink her blood. Shen Runing was faintly angry, and her eyes gradually narrowed. It wasn't until a flame in her palm began to burn that she regained consciousness and quickly extinguished the fire, while a corner of the photo was burned out. She pursed her lips as she looked at the photo she had burned, put it back in its original position, and without saying anything, walked into the room and fell onto the warm and soft bed. She will make those people regret it. The next morning, Shen Runing was awakened from bed with a restless and angry expression, her eyes turning crimson. Seeing that she was indeed looking very tired, Yao Meng softened her tone and said, Ningning, you're going to record a program today. We won't sleep anymore. Seize this opportunity and it will turn red. How long do you want to sleep? Shen Runing had a foul face, but as soon as she heard that she was going to appear on the show, she immediately brought up her energy and spirit. She is going to see Jiang Zhuyu, although she is not sure if she is her own Jiang Zhuyu, she must leave a good impression. A person got up from the bed, quickly ran to the bathroom to wash up, carried a pre-prepared bag on their back, and stood at the door, let's go. She wore very clean and refreshing clothes for a few days. The water blue denim pants included a pair of jade legs, wearing a black shirt on the upper body, with a slightly open collar, revealing the delicate and seductive collarbone. Her hair was tied behind her head by some unknown technique, and her temples fell with black hair. Her long and pointed face was delicate and seductive, and she was messy yet still exuding the beauty of the atmosphere. Narrow fox eyes, a face without any makeup, clean and tidy. Between chatting and laughing, her half-teasing gaze almost made Yao Meng unable to resist. Yao Meng. Why haven't you put on makeup? Where's the stylist? Why do we need makeup? She asked in response. Her face doesn't require any smudging or embellishments, let alone meaningless for what she needs to do. During her hospitalization, she made good use of the program Return to Simplicity. She had already filmed 2 episodes before, and in the 3rd episode, she went to be a flying guest. But Jiang Zhuyu is a regular guest, and she has fully understood the rules of this program. Yao Meng thought about it. She is also right, dressing up so exquisitely while farming is bound to attract criticism from others. Shen Runing's appearance has always been resistant to attacks, and this time she may have unexpected effects, so she followed suit. When she arrived at the designated location by the production team, Yao Meng watched her get off the car and reassured her. Don't let sympathy run rampant. Get along better with everyone and remember to stay away from Jiang Yingdi. The last woman who approached her was almost kicked out of the circle by his fans. Shen Runing. Stay away. That's absolutely impossible. If that person is really her Jiang Zhuyu, it's not a bad distance. When arriving at the location, the production team also arranged for several cars to wait there. Currently, there are 5 guests present, namely, manga girl Su Tang, boy group AI Do Jinchuan, famous singer Qin Yuyan, talented actor Meng Jiyu, and entertainment industry star Shen Runing. When Shen Runing appeared on camera, everyone in the live broadcast room was stunned, and everyone on site was also stunned and speechless. Shen Runing, is this a plain face? Are you joking? Do female celebrities have bare faces on the show? It must be light makeup. Tattooed it, just weld it onto my face, and then tell everyone that I have a bare face, isn't it like this now? However, only those present at the scene can know how beautiful Shen Runing's face really is. Under the sunlight, every pore seems to be breathing, emitting a different luster, perfect like a piece of art. Even the photographer couldn't help but appreciate this beauty and came up with a slap in the face. The audience suffered a wave of beauty attacks. I love this beauty. Anyway, I fell in love with this face. Director. Due to the delay in the itinerary, Jiang Zhuyu cannot gather here with everyone. He will rush directly to the village then. Now we have arranged 2 nanny cars for everyone to choose from, and everyone can freely choose which car to board. Shen Runing didn't see the person she wanted to see, and her face suddenly collapsed. Without hesitation, she got into a car. She woke up early and perked up, but surprisingly didn't see Jiang Zhuyu. Upon getting into the car, Shen Runing began to close her eyes and rest, taking a nap. And the others looked at Shen Runing, then at another car, and coincidentally got into another nanny car. Do they all dislike Shen Runing? Are they isolating Shen Runing? Don't lean towards anyone, let me give you some science popularization. Shen Runing's reputation as a celebrity in the entertainment industry is not for nothing. She is bound to encounter accidents when riding a car, and more or less accidents will occur. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Grouping. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Grouping. Along the way, there was laughter and chatter in other people's cars, creating a lively atmosphere with endless chatter and endless joy. In Shen Runing's car, the beauty closed her eyes and fell asleep. Her sleeping expression relaxed, and her seductive eyes also closed. Her whole body softened, her chin tilted back, revealing a beautiful neckline. The hair behind her temples was scattered on her shoulders, the window was slightly open, and the wind blew in, fluttering her hair. The collar was lifted, revealing one side of her collarbone. Her fair and tender skin was simply not too beautiful. So, even though there was nothing in this live broadcast room, everyone watched it with great interest. After announcing my appearance, I will stay in this live broadcast room and not leave. I won't leave anything else for now, this face. Aha, I really want to eat. Others got into the car and laughed happily, while Shen Runing got into the car and fell asleep. But in the condensed car, there was only herself, who else was she joking with? When the car arrived at the station, Shen Runing got off the car and stretched her waist, feeling refreshed. Welcome to the beautiful town of Ijo. We have arranged accommodation for everyone, and everyone can go to their rooms to rest first. After half an hour, we will collect today's first task here. Sitting there was indeed very tiring, and after hearing this, everyone hurriedly returned to their accommodation. The program team is quite good to everyone, choosing a famous local guest house that is clean, hygienic, and tidy, making it impeccable. After Shen Runing returned to the room, she sat on the bed, crossed her legs, adjusted her breathing, and surprisingly, she meditated directly in the room. At this moment, all the bullet comments in Shen Runing's live broadcast room have turned into question marks. Some people's live broadcast rooms are resting, while others are interacting with the audience. Arriving at Shen Runing's unique place, she was actually meditating. In this peaceful scene, the woman sits cross-legged and closed her eyes on the bed, meditating quietly. The rhythmic chirping of birds and cicadas outside the window adds a lot of atmosphere to the scene. Everyone watched quietly, not knowing when they began to feel the refreshing breeze blowing around Shen Runing. In the camera, the woman's hair was gently swaying. In that moment, they felt that Shen Runing was different from this noisy world, and there seemed to be a different magnetic field around her. Not only does it calm the mind of those who meditate, but even those who watch her meditate can't help but reduce and gradually calm their restlessness. 25 minutes had passed, and Shen Runing suddenly opened her eyes. She opened it all at once, startling everyone. She was motionless just now, and everyone thought she was asleep. She roughly tidied up and went to gather at the village entrance. 5 minutes is enough to gather at the village entrance from this place. The director of the production team has been waiting for them at the village entrance wearing a straw hat, watching everyone arrive on time as scheduled with a happy smile on their face. Now we have prepared new tasks for everyone, but the current grouping situation is still pending. Now, I have called out the names of the people and started to enter the small rooms next to them one by one. The first one is Meng Jiyu. Meng Jiyu is 26 years old this year, with a calm and proud temperament. When her name was called, she just nodded and entered the small room. In no time, she came out. When she came out, she didn't take anything in her hand and there was no expression on her face. What exactly is inside Senior Meng? Jin Chuan asked curiously. Meng Jiyu gave him a long glance, but didn't say anything. The next Su Tang. Until the director clicked on the last name, Shen Runing. Shen Runing, with one hand in her pocket, casually entered the small room and walked lazily with her long legs, her expression relaxed. The room is not big, with two things placed on the table in front of it. The background speaker reminded, you can choose the tool you like and put it in the yellow box next to it. One is a red scarf, and the other is a tattered old book. Shen Runing's slender jade fingers casually grabbed the red scarf next to her and placed it in the frame. As soon as it came out, the director started counting the results. After everyone's selection just now, we will start distributing tasks. This task will be divided into two teams, A and B. Finally, through everyone's performance, we will earn points from the villagers' hands. Friendly reminder, the more points you have, the more things you can exchange. Now, let's start reading out everyone's team results. The members of Team A are Meng Jiyu, Su Tang, and Qin Yuyan. The members of Team B are Jin Chuan, Shen Runing, and Jiang Zhuyu hesitated to choose, so they automatically returned to Team B. Upon hearing these words, Su Tang clenched her lips without showing any trace, feeling extremely regretful that she had missed such a good opportunity with Emperor Jiangying. Everyone received the assigned tasks and began to take action. And Shen Runing's group, because Jiang Zhuyu arrived late, only had 2 people. Jin Chuan stood in place, seeming to be struggling with something, but in the end he walked toward Shen Runing. Hello Sister Shen, we are going to do the task together next. Please give us more guidance, Sister Shen. Jin Chuan was originally an idol, young in age, wearing cute camisole pants, youthful and lively, wearing a deep blue fisherman's hat. He was both handsome and sunny. He watched Shen Runing speak, grinning sweetly and refreshing. Shen Runing looked at him with clear and clean eyes, a child who had not yet been contaminated. She nodded lightly and answered in a cold voice, "Let's encourage each other." Jin Chuan was momentarily stunned, feeling that Shen Runing seemed to be saying something different from his agent. At this moment, the director spoke again. "The program team has invited a helper to everyone, who is also my assistant. If you have any questions, you can tell him." As he spoke, the director introduced a child. This child looks just like a teenager, a bit chubby, with baby fat still on his face. He has a cute round face, big black eyes, and is wearing a pair of suspenders. "Hello everyone, my name is Lin Bai, you can call me Xiao Bai." After saying this, he shyly hid behind the director. "Next, Xiao Bai will take you to the mission location and tell everyone what the mission is." After the director finished speaking, Xiao Bai appeared again in front of everyone. Xiao Bai touched the back of his head and said with a thin face, "I'll take you to the mission site now. The people from Team A can come with me first. The task of Group A is to help villagers weed the corn fields. The task of Group B is to go up the mountain to help villagers cut sheep grass. Because Izhou town is a coastal area surrounded by the sea on all sides, even if there are mountains, it is just a small hill. Cutting sheep grass in this town is a very troublesome thing." In no time, Xiao Bai returned and was about to take the members of Group B to complete the task. Xiao Bai took a glance and the two of them finally chose the older sister Shen Runing, who looked both good-looking and very similar. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. I don't like children being too close to me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. I don't like children being too close to me while walking. Xiao Bai walked ahead, but intentionally or unintentionally leaned toward Shen Runing. A gentle and beautiful sister is always the easiest to approach. However, at this moment, Shen Runing frowned. I don't like children being too close to me. Shen Runing almost instinctively wanted to keep a distance from these children. When it comes to this matter, it can be traced back many years ago. At that time, Shen Runing had not yet met Jiang Zhuyu. I am still a child of 13 or 14 years old. At that time, she had already been chased by the Xian men. She lived a miserable life of hiding in Tibet, and often had no food to eat. But on the way, she met a little beggar who was even younger than her, and developed a heart of pity, so she lived with this little beggar. Most of the time, even if you can't eat enough, you can't starve a little beggar. But who knew that in the end, the little beggar betrayed her. She revealed her location to the Xian men and was chased, but she almost lost her life that time. After that lesson, Shen Runing no longer believed in children. As long as there are children around her, she will feel uncomfortable and insecure all over. It seems like there is a knife on my neck. The disgust in Shen Runing's eyes deeply hurt Xiao Bai's heart. Xiao Bai pouted and almost burst into tears. Shen Runing thought she was someone who actually treated a child like this. Shen Runing is sick, isn't she? Did she still fall ill after running here? I'll go and say such cruel words to a 10-year-old child. She's really awesome. Shen Runing has been black all her life. After hearing Shen Runing's words, Jin Chuan was slightly surprised. At least in front of the camera, even if you don't like it, you won't say such hurtful words. But Shen Runing said it so casually. Is she really ignoring her own image at all? It seems that Shen Runing's character is not very good, just like what is rumored. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared next to him. He was bathed in soft sunlight, his face not yet clear, only a sound could be heard, warm as jade colliding, and as lightly plucked as a guqin. Sorry, I'm late. Then he crouched down and touched little White's head, with a soft and warm smile on his face, softly comforting him. It's okay, sister. She's just not good at coaxing children, she doesn't really dislike you. He was as light as a feather, gently scraping through the hearts of everyone. Wow. Yu is so gentle. I want my soul to wear white. Shen Runing is really impolite, but fortunately there is still Yu here. At the moment of seeing Jiang Zhuiyu's figure, Shen Runing froze noticeably. The person in front of them had a pair of slender legs wrapped in black pants, a clean white shirt on the upper body, and a khaki windbreaker on the outer tower. Refreshing and clean. The four eyes met each other, and the moment when those watery eyes met her, it was like a deep valley, and anyone who saw it would be deeply immersed in it. He was tall and upright, with a straight back and two thin bangs falling between his eyebrows. His nose was straight, and his thin lips were slightly seductive. He smiled and nodded at her. Sorry for being late. Jiang Zhuiyu carries a gentle and elegant temperament, which makes one intoxicated. Jinchuan's mouth grew into an O-shaped shape when he saw it. Undoubtedly, it is the beauty mountain in the entertainment industry. It is true that real people are even more beautiful than on TV. This person is just like what is rumored online and doesn't appear on camera. Hello, Senior Jiang. Jinchuan drooled for a moment, but still needs to pay attention to his facial expression management in front of the camera. Looking at Shen Runing again. He unexpectedly saw Shen Runing stay in place, and Shen Runing, who had been calm since the meeting, was stunned. Jiang Yingdi's appearance is indeed not exaggerated. Shen Runing is playing myself, right? I was stunned. Let's just say that Shen Runing is a seasoned beauty dog, and she was stunned by how beautiful Jiang Zhuiyu's face should be. It's best for Shen Runing to stay away from our brother. In fact, Shen Runing was indeed stunned by her appearance, but not by her stunning appearance. A mist gradually formed in her eyes, and the person in front of her gradually became blurred in her sight. There seemed to be many images emerging before my eyes. When we first met, the young master Ryu was wearing a crescent robe in the small courtyard, holding a book in one hand and a tea cup in the other. He was only momentarily surprised to see her suddenly cross the wall and appear in front of him. That year, when he was still young, he gave her a light smile and said, "Since you're here, why don't you sit down and drink a cup of tea?" When he said goodbye, he looked in shock at the young girl who had entered the room in front of him, wrapped only in a white fur coat, and said with emotion in his eyes, "Miss, can you help me?" "Miss, don't worry, I'm not a bad person. I'm the son of the Yuan Gate Jiang family, Jiang Zhuiyu." Later on, I didn't know what was going on, but he followed her like a bullshit ointment. Until that day, she broke into the Yuan Gate Jiang family alone, and the 8 great mysteries gathered together. She was outnumbered and injured on the ground, surrounded by 10,000 arrows, frost and snow covering the sky, and hot blood staining the aisle outside the Yuan Gate courtyard. He had bloodstains on his lips, a clear smile still on his face, and a firmness in his eyes that she had never seen before. He extended a hand to her and said, "Up poor, blue, and down to the underworld. Would you like me to accompany you on a journey?" Although it was already 3 o'clock in the afternoon and the sunlight was soft, Shen Runing felt that her eyes couldn't open. Fortunately, he is still alive. "Sister Shen, what's wrong with you?" Jinchuan looked at Shen Runing's heartbroken expression and was about to cry. He whispered, pulling at Shen Runing's sleeve and asking. "The sand blinded me." Shen Runing lowered her eyes. A line of clear tears streamed over her long, dense lower eyelashes, dangling and ready to drip. Jinchuan looked at Shen Runing and then at Jiang Zhuiyu. Is it possible that Jiang Yingdi is Shen Runing's ex-boyfriend due to her reaction? Jiang Zhuiyu noticed Shen Runing's abnormality, but he only glanced briefly at her before retracting his gaze. He doesn't know Shen Runing, nor has he seen this person before, so it's probably because he wants to be popular. "Here we are, and this is the backpack we have prepared for you. You need to carry them up the mountain to cut grass." Xiao Bai pointed to it. The 3 backpacks prepared in advance pointed to the small hill next to them. "Got it, thank you." Jinchuan happily carried his basket on his back, feeling excited about the unknown. 3 people carried baskets on their backs and embarked on an unknown journey. Shen Runing lifted herself before carrying the basket on her back. The long black and thick hair turned into a fried dough twists braid, which was coiled behind her head. The hair was tied by a dead tree branch she picked at random from the roadside. The woman's thin body carried a large basket, not only not as ugly as a village girl, but also a unique rural romance. She held a sickle in her hand, and her hair was meticulously coiled behind her head, with a serious expression surging between her eyebrows. "I'll go, Shen Runing looks really good with just a few bites. These three people standing there is simply Yen Go's paradise. I don't care, I want to buy a hairpin. I want to follow Shen Runing to learn how to play." End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Is her husband. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Is her husband. What surprised everyone was that whether it was Shen Runing carrying a basket or her posture with a sickle, she was an experienced hand. As if I had done such a thing before. But according to Shen Runing's background, it should be that she has never been exposed to these rural things before. Xiao Bai is still introducing to everyone, what kind of grass can be cut down and fed to sheep, and what kind of grass is not eaten by sheep. Along the way, Xiao Bai served as their answer book. Although Xiao Bai is young and doesn't know much, he has been exposed to it since childhood and won't make mistakes in cutting sheep grass. Jin Chuan. Can Xiao Bai give this to the sheep to eat? Xiao Bai. No, eating it will cause diarrhea. Jin Chuan. Is this okay? Xiao Bai. Sure. Along the way, when Jin Chuan encounters unfamiliar grass, he always asks Xiao Bai. Jiang Zhuyu occasionally asks a few questions. Perhaps only Shen Runing remained silent throughout the entire process. Xiao Bai secretly glanced at Shen Runing. Thinking of what this sister had said to herself before, she didn't dare to approach her. So he remained silent. But this move was discovered by savvy netizens. Xiao Bai secretly looked at Shen Runing. Just kidding. Beautiful women always attract people's attention. Shen Runing had such a bad attitude before that even the novice dared not speak to her. But have you noticed that although Shen Runing didn't say a word, the grass she cut seems to be right? In no time, Jin Chuan encountered another fresh grass that he didn't know. Xiao Bai, can this be given to sheep to eat? This stopped Xiao Bai from asking. Xiao Bai looked at the grass in front of him, which he didn't know, with a somewhat confused expression. I really don't know about this. I have never encountered such a person on the mountain before. Watching Xiao Bai being questioned, Jin Chuan stared with innocent big eyes, waiting for the result. Shen Runing threw the grass in her hand into the basket. Dao said, sure. But this is for the sheep to eat in winter. This type of grass has a bad taste. In summer, when there is a lot of grass, the sheep will choose delicious food to eat. In winter, when there is really no food to eat, the sheep will eat this. After thinking for a moment, Jin Chuan took a sickle and cut it. He tilted his head and asked, Sister Shen, how do you know this grass is not delicious? Shen Runing pursed her lips and said, I've heard of it. In fact, on a snowy day, Shen Runing hid in a cold cave and truly tasted the taste of this grass. On the other side, Jiang Zhuyu, even though cutting sheep grass, exuded a temperament that was out of place with this mountain village. Especially as he stood on a small hill at this moment, the afternoon sun shone on him at 4 or 5 o'clock, and his silhouette shone gently, like a myriad of tenderness. Watching Jiang Zhuyu diligently mowing the grass, Shen Runing gradually closed her eyes as she calculated Jiang Zhuyu's past life. She wants to confirm whether he is the Jiang Zhuyu who promised her life and death. However, it was not so easy to inquire about Jiang Zhuyu's past life. Shen Runing spent quite some time, and her eyes were as empty as the sea of stars, without any images. Shen Runing felt a little strange and looked forward, finally showing her a glimmer of light. The picture suddenly froze and remained in the image of 1,000 years ago. The scenes that she couldn't be more familiar with. He was pale and weak, wearing a crescent robe, accompanied by bursts of coughing. Under his handkerchief were hidden bloodstains. On that day, Shen Runing was in a daze, not knowing what was on her mind. She suddenly turned around and asked him, "Sick Mayu, why haven't you ever advised me to change my ways? Your father is the leader of the underworld, and you've been hanging out with me all day. Your father must be very angry." Because Jiang Zhuyu has always been a sickly beauty, with the appearance of weak Lu Fufeng, Shen Runing gave him the name of Sickly Beauty. Sick beauty, Jiang Zhuyu. Why do I advise you? Without the suffering of others, do not advise others to be kind. After speaking, he looked at Shen Runing with heartache and poured her a cup of tea. If possible, who wouldn't want a peaceful life? He has always known that Shen Runing is not the kind of heinous witch that others say. She exists alone in this world as a woman, which is already sad enough. But those people still wanted to fight and kill her. He always felt distressed when he saw her hiding, but he could do nothing. All he can do is hope to be by her side, do what he can for her, and even be a hostage for Shen Runing in critical moments. Shen Runing wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes as she looked at these past events before her. So actually, since then, his body has been very bad and he started coughing up blood. Why doesn't he even tell himself? When Shen Runing opened her eyes again, tears were already streaming down her face. Her gaze as she looked at Jiang Zhuyu was like a clear spring, and also like a sorrowful deep sea. It's him, it's really him. She found him. However, Jiang Zhuyu now doesn't remember herself. But it's okay, she will make them get to know each other again and make him fall in love with him again. Jiang Zhuyu and Shen Runing have long agreed that life and death are inseparable. At 5.30, everyone returned to the gathering place, started handing over tasks, and claimed today's points. Team A's task was completed very well, accumulating 20 points. Team B's task completion rate is also good, and they exceeded it, accumulating 30 points due to Shen Runing's presence. She only mowed the grass without speaking or pretending, and her basket of grass was tightly pressed. Jin Chuan also gave Shen Runing a thumbs up. Dinner needs to be cooked together by everyone, as it is the first day, so the program team has provided ingredients for everyone. Su Tang crossed her hands and sweetly pinched her chest, saying, "Since you're cooking, I'll make some tomatoes, eggs, and stir-fried potato shreds. We can also make healthy vegetarian dishes, salads, and mixed vegetables." Su Tang wears a cute air bangs and makes cute little expressions when speaking. Meng Jiyu hesitated for a moment and said, "I don't know how to cook, let me help set the fire." Qin Yuyen rolled up his sleeves and said, "I can cook, so let me do it." Jin Chuan pouted and his face turned pale. Can I wash vegetables?" Shen Runing put her hands in her pockets and looked at them with their eyes fixed on her. She said, "I don't know how to cook, let me pick up firewood." When it came to cooking just now, she was only reminded of some distant memories. She has always been alone and often lacks food. For eating, being able to fill the stomach is not bad. But after meeting Jiang Zhuyu, his body was weak and he almost fell seriously ill from eating. Later, Shen Runing couldn't help but learn how to cook. Jiang Zhuyu saw that they had finished speaking and finally stared at the cutting board, saying, "Then I'll cut the vegetables." The division of labor is ready, and everyone follows the division of labor. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. I don't like bitter melon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. I don't like bitter melon. Shen Runing went to find firewood and came back to burn it, while Jin Chuan also began to arrange for washing vegetables. Shen Runing happened to come back with a large bundle of firewood, and saw Su Tang flying around like a butterfly next to Jiang Zhuyu. The two of them seemed to be talking about something. Her eyes drooped slightly, hiding the hidden anger in her heart. Her man, on the other hand, had already taken action first. She wrapped the bundle of firewood under her armpit without any image, dragged it back, and after entering the kitchen, she threw the firewood in her hand heavily on the ground. She said to Su Tang with a smile on her face, "What are you talking about? You're laughing so happily, why don't you tell me?" Su Tang said, seemingly innocent, with some doubts lingering in her eyes. "I didn't say anything, it's just that Senior Jiang taught me how to act. It's my blessing to learn from Senior Jiang. However, Sister Shen seems to have never been enthusiastic about acting, so she shouldn't be interested in what we're talking about. Shen Runing has acted in 2 dramas, but both of them are vicious supporting role, and she has made her face totally different. Shen Runing's acting skills are comparable to dog poop. Coincidentally, I just want to learn acting skills recently. If Senior Jiang could give me some guidance, it would be even better." Shen Runing leaned over directly and squeezed Su Tang away. Reached out and turned on the faucet to rinse. Jiang Zhuyu lowered her eyes and looked at the pool. The water flowed through Shen Runing's fair and delicate hands, and because it was cold water, her fingertips were slightly pink from the cold. Clean and beautiful. Her nails are slender, coated with a thin layer of sheepskin jade nude nail polish, which sets off her entire hands and makes them even more delicate. This is the first time Jiang Zhuyu has seen someone who can be so beautiful with even one hand. Before coming to participate in this program, the agent had already informed him about the guests this time. The name Shen Runing is not unfamiliar. In the entertainment industry, one may not know which celebrity is currently the hottest, but one must know who is the worst celebrity. There are 2 words surrounding Shen Runing. One is unlucky, and the other is beautiful. Through the popularization of science by her agent, Jiang Zhuyu realized Shen Runing's misfortune. And beauty, at this moment, Jiang Zhuyu also deeply realized. But now he has added something more to his understanding of Shen Runing, which is mouth poison. This little girl is not at any disadvantage. However, you can ask Senior Jiang to explain it to you now. After all, he is still a member of Team B and spends most of his time with us. Shen Runing lightly shrugged her shoulders and went out again to carry firewood. Jiang Zhuyu felt that Shen Runing gave him a glare before leaving. He doesn't know why. Just feeling confused, where did I provoke her to be unhappy? Jiang Zhuyu couldn't even scratch her head, but the look in Shen Runing's eyes just now meant. You'd better be more obedient and avoid flirting with me. After going through some twists and turns, everyone finally had a hot meal. Although it was simple, the atmosphere of eating together was also very satisfying. I don't like to eat this bitter gourd, you guys can eat it. After saying that, Shen Runing moved the plate of bitter gourds to the side. Everyone present had a strange expression on their faces. I knew that Shen Runing would feel uncomfortable if she didn't become a demon for a day. Qin Yuyan said, "It's okay, I love to eat. Put it next to me." Su Tang looked at this action and said, "Sister Shen, although bitter gourd is a bit bitter, its nutritional value is very high. It's better to eat a little bit. You can't just let Brother Yu Yan eat it all alone." Su Tang just curled her lips silently while speaking. Shen Runing is actually openly picky about food and even puts things she doesn't like in front of others. Aren't those netizens in the live broadcast scolding her to death? And the fact is indeed as Su Tang thought. I'm really going to be infuriated by Shen Runing. How could he do this? It's outrageous to put things you don't like in front of others. Shen Go is indeed still Shen Go, and his lethargy has not changed. Fortunately, I just had a slight change in my attitude towards her. It seems that dogs can't change their behavior. Shen Runing certainly knew what these people were thinking at the moment, but she didn't care about it. Jiang Zhuyu, sitting next to Shen Runing, looked at her and didn't say anything, just lowered her eyes. Shen Runing was holding a bowl of rice, eating it deliciously. Just watching her eat it would make people feel their appetite surge. And she gives people a feeling that no matter what they eat, it's always very fragrant. He doesn't seem like a picky eater at all. On the contrary, Jiang Zhuyu never reached out for chopsticks to the bitter gourd plate the whole night. What should I do if I suddenly feel hungry? As someone with anorexia, watching Shen Runing eat is really a terrible thing. Oh my goodness, how could she eat so delicious? Although it's just a simple bowl of white rice paired with some homemade side dishes, depending on the taste, these dishes are just a type of home-cooked side dishes with a lower color scheme. Shen Runing eats quickly but elegantly, with a happy expression on her face that makes one feel satisfied and happy. Even Qin Yuyan couldn't help but tease and say, "Shen Runing thinks your meal is really delicious." Shen Runing didn't say anything, with a mouthful of rice in her mouth, and smiled at Qin Yuyan. That sincere and happy smile is a smile that can only be revealed when happy. The corners of her mouth are raised, and the corners of her eyes are curved, forming a beautiful arc with her drooping eyes, making her seductive eyes look a bit sweet. They just don't know. Shen Runing has been sleeping and eating outdoors all year round, even living without a fixed place, always full of wild fruits. Being able to sit down and enjoy such a hot and steaming meal is an ultimate happiness and luxury for her. Even Jiang Zhuyu, who was sitting next to her, couldn't help but have a great appetite when she saw how sweet and happy Shen Runing was eating. The food in the mouth is also a bit delicious. After dinner, everyone enters their leisure time and can freely arrange their time or choose to go to bed and rest. The room arranged by the program team for everyone is a large homestay, where everyone lives in the same building, just different rooms. In order to connect with each other, Qin Yuyan, as the eldest brother, actively proposed that everyone gather in the living room, play games together, and have fun. "Let's play a game, why don't we take a big adventure with sincerity?" Su Tang suggested. Subsequently, several people expressed no objections. So they took a chopstick, and whoever pointed the chopstick at had to choose between being honest or taking a big risk. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Proficiency in Fortune Telling. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Proficiency in Fortune Telling. The first person to be hit is Meng Jiyu. Meng Jiyu's expression was slightly disappointed, but he didn't expect to become the first person to win the prize. "I choose the truth, you can ask," he said. "Let me ask. I want to ask if Sister Jiyu has anyone she likes." Su Tang raised his hand actively and firmly grasped this opportunity in his hand. But because she was originally lively in personality, it did not provoke any resentment from everyone. Meng Jiyu hesitated for a moment and then said, "No." Su Tang stuck out his tongue and said, "It's a pity that I didn't ask about Sister Jiyu's little secret." Everyone started the second round again, and almost everyone took turns to be hit, except for Shen Runing, who successfully dodged several times. For such an activity, Shen Runing did not find any joy, and her interest was lackluster. However, the next second the chopstick stopped in front of Shen Runing. "Wow! It's finally Sister Shen's turn to be hit. Sister Shen is lucky, this is still her first time," Su Tang exaggerated. "I want to ask Sister Shen what she likes and excels at in her daily life." Su Tang's question may seem ordinary, but in reality, it has a deeper meaning. The only thing Shen Runing is famous for in the entertainment industry is her appearance, followed by her unlucky gimmicks. It can even be said that she is worthless. Faced with Su Tang's innocent and lovely smile, Shen Runing lightly curled her lips and said with a slight coolness in her eyes, "Tell your fortune." Originally, Su Tang thought to herself that in order to save face, Shen Runing would definitely answer with a certain musical instrument, so that she could find a way to have Shen Runing perform that instrument in the program and expose her. But Su Tang never expected that Shen Runing's answer would be so bizarre. Fortune telling. What kind of expertise is this? Is Shen Runing going to change her career? She is going on the path of comedy. Sleeping slot, can this be broadcasted? Will they not be caught? Su Tang awkwardly smiled and said, "Sister Shen is really good at joking." Who knew that Shen Runing gave her a cold glance and whispered, "Who was joking?" Meng Jiyu has always had a good impression of Shen Runing since the beginning of this program. At this moment, she said leisurely, "Since that's the case, why don't you calculate for me first and let me see if you're accurate. Meng Zhiyu's original intention was to help Shen Runing break free. Shen Runing narrowed her eyes slightly, as if she was looking at Meng Zhiyu before saying, "It's very expensive to come to me for fortune telling, but I think you and I have a good relationship, so I'll give you a 20% discount." Originally, everyone wanted to see what Shen Runing could say in her mouth, but to their surprise, she still wanted money. Suddenly, the public screen began to roll wildly. Is Shen Runing crazy about poverty? Surprisingly earning this kind of money. Oh my goodness, Shen Go is really insightful. He actually cheated money first, and his calculations hit me in the face. Sorry, my wife's brain is not very good. Everyone can just scold her. I have confirmed my intelligence, but she is my wife who is nothing but beautiful. Su Tang saw the timing right and knew without hesitation what the barrage in the live broadcast room would be. She took the opportunity to boost her popularity. In a coquettish tone, she said, "Sister Shen, you need money to tell Zhiyu's fortune telling. Anyway, it's all eye-catching behavior, so it's a bit excessive to ask for money. Of course, doing fortune-telling for others is a way to reveal the truth without any intention, and fortune-tellers will inevitably suffer backlash and retribution." Su Tang. Is it better to ask for money with Shen Runing or for Meng Zhiyu? Everyone was speechless, watching this dramatic scene. After all, Meng Zhiyu couldn't help but ask, "How much do you want?" "But I don't have any money now. Can I give it to you later? I came to participate in the program but saved all the money." Shen Runing nodded and said, "Sure, what do you want to count?" Meng Zhiyu didn't take Shen Runing seriously and jokingly said, "Why don't you help me calculate when I can become popular?" Although Meng Zhiyu has also starred in many films over the years, most of them are not female leads. She is still just a second-tier actress, and she has always been a bit lucky since she became popular. Therefore, she has also been jokingly referred to as the second female lead for 10,000 years. Shen Runing looked at her and then pinched her fingers to calculate. At first glance, it really looks like that. Her gaze at Meng Zhiyu seemed to be able to penetrate a person's soul, and for a moment, she felt as if Meng Zhiyu had been seen through. You have a sense of luxury when you hit, and it's only a matter of time before you become famous. However, I think you should know another thing more than whether you will become famous or not. Shen Runing suddenly changed her tone and became serious. You have a younger brother, right? The audience, who was just full of anticipation, now wants to curse profusely. I thought she was going to say something. Isn't it something that everyone on the internet knows about Meng Zhiyu's younger brother? My sister's younger brother has been lost since childhood, and she even mentioned this on the show. Is Shen Runing here to be funny? Meng Zhiyu thought Shen Runing was going to say something, but it turned out to be this matter. He pretended to smile and said, "Well, everyone knows I have a younger brother, but my brother has been lost since he was young. The implication is, if you want to start with my brother, then don't do it." Jiang Zhuyu leaned against the black leather sofa, holding a glass of orange juice in her hand, and stared at Shen Runing with thoughtful eyes. But Shen Runing's face looks pleasing to the eye, but it's better for her not to have that mouth. As a result, Shen Runing shook her head and said, "Your younger brother hasn't actually been lost, he has always been by your side." Upon hearing these words, Meng Zhiyu immediately perked up. Where is he? How come I don't know? Shen Runing opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but then glanced at the camera and asked Meng Zhiyu, "Can you say it?" Meng Zhiyu is not sure why, but isn't all of this now a variety show effect? What can't be said? Nod casually. Shen Runing said, "Your younger brother is actually your assistant, and your mother already knows about it. Your work is all handled by your mother, right? So haven't you noticed anything wrong between your mother and your assistant in the past 2 years?" Meng Zhiyu pondered for a moment, pondering what was wrong in his mind, and finally shook his head. What she is hearing now is too unbelievable. If what Shen Runing said is true, she doesn't understand why her mother didn't tell her brother that she found it. Just as Meng Jiyu was puzzled, Shen Runing spoke in astonishment. Your mother has been quietly transferring your property with your younger brother over the years. Think carefully, does your mother often come to you for money on the grounds of poor health and the need for medical treatment? Have you given your mother a lot of money over the years? The last time was last month, when your mother openly asked you for money to see a doctor, but in reality, she secretly bought a small villa for your younger brother in the south of the city. The south of the city is a wealthy area, where even buying a small villa can cost tens of millions. Meng Jiyu was emotionally excited and stood up. This is impossible. Meng Jiyu gritted her back teeth, her mother wouldn't do this to her. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Reorganization. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Reorganization. Think about all the reasons for it yourself. If you don't believe what I'm saying, you can investigate it yourself. The head of the household is Mr. Chen, your assistant, at 1830, Block B, Qingnan Jinxiu Garden. Meng Jiyu suddenly seemed to lose all her strength and fell onto the sofa. She couldn't believe what she heard, but it was her mother who had been with her for over 20 years. Wokeo, is it really fake? Shen Runing knows nothing, he must be talking nonsense. But if it's nonsense, she has already exposed the specific address. Sisters, I just asked my property friend to check. The head of 1830, Block B, Jinxiu Garden in the south of the city is really Mr. Chen. I don't believe it, Shen Runing must have asked for it. She already knew about it. Shen Runing looked at everyone who was doing something and their faces were not very good. Everyone felt puzzled by what Shen Runing said and dared not speak up. Su Tang felt a cold wind coming and shrunk her feet. Shen Runing yawned and the corners of her eyes were watery. I'm a bit tired, you guys can play. I'll go upstairs and rest first. Qin Yuyen saw the situation and said, I don't know what tasks are waiting for us tomorrow, so let's all rest early. Everyone nodded, wondering if Shen Runing was still in the mood to continue playing. Everyone went upstairs and prepared to rest. On the production team side, the director looked at the girl in ordinary clothes on camera, her dignified demeanor when she went upstairs, especially her yawning gesture, half covering her face, leaving only a pair of delicate and charming eyes. Director, what should we do with this segment? Is it really making Shen Runing talk nonsense? If it were to be broadcasted, he would be scolded. The director pondered for a moment and said, let's keep it for now. Looking at it now, the popularity of this section is quite good, let's see how the subsequent response will be. And the reality is that this segment quickly became a hot topic. Hashtag Shen Runing's fraud. Hashtag this entry made it to the hot search in half an hour. Everyone wants to see who this cancer in the entertainment industry has scammed again. Who knew that clicking on it was actually like this? Shen Runing is really capable of doing anything for the sake of being read. But sisters, am I the only one who cares about the truth of this matter? If, with a 1 in a billion chance, this thing is true, then how miserable Jiyu would be. The vast number of netizens have begun to mobilize all their abilities to investigate the truth behind this matter. After the guests rested at night, the camera was also turned off to protect the privacy of each guest. The next morning, everyone began to plan new tasks again, because the breakfast in the village was really unpleasant, and it turned out to be coarse oatmeal, which was unacceptable to everyone. Everyone eats hard to swallow, and even feels a bit sore when swallowing. Only Shen Runing was holding a steamed bun in one hand and picking up small dishes with chopsticks in the other, eating happily. Shen Runing, I found it easy for you to support yourself, Qin Yuyen joked. Shen Runing took a swallow before saying, if you have something to eat, eat more to avoid going hungry when you don't have anything to eat. This is something they cannot understand. Because none of the people present had experienced that kind of hardship and could not answer the conversation. Su Tang broke off the bread, it was really difficult to swallow. Seeing Shen Runing eating so fragrant, she was speechless, combined with her words. I heard that Sister Shen seems to be from the city, right? I don't know where Sister Shen's hometown is, but she still goes hungry. So it seems that someone like Sister Shen, who is beautiful and kind-hearted, should be the first to support her hometown after making money, right? Shen Runing drank the last mouthful of soybean milk, ate it well, and said, I'm sure I'll do my best when it's time to help, but the breakfast in Izhou town is also special. Actually, Shen Runing is quite good, she just made some progress. Looking at the breakfast that no one else can eat, Shen Runing eats it deliciously. She's not very picky either. Maybe she really didn't like the bitter gourd last night, that's why she did it that way. Oh, I can't do that even if I don't like it. In the morning, the director's team called for everyone to hold a meeting again. Today's task is very simple, it is to help the school sell waste, and all the money sold will be used to add heart to the student stationery. When announcing the task, everyone in the live broadcast room clearly noticed that Meng Zhiyu's state was not quite right. She looked haggard as if she hadn't slept all night. The dark circles under my eyes are deep, and my face is also very pale. Even a thin layer of light makeup was applied to the face. As a female celebrity, it is common to focus on managing oneself well. Meng Zhiyu's current situation is really suspicious. How did Sister Zhiyu become like this? Shouldn't it be because Shen Runing was talking nonsense there last night that scared Sister Zhiyu? But didn't the follow-up news from yesterday's divination come out quickly? Everything Shen Runing said corresponds to it. Don't wash the ones upstairs, Shen Runing clearly found a way to arrange everything. Everyone saw the state of Meng Zhiyu, and combined with Shen Runing's divination last night, no one dared to ask about Meng Zhiyu's situation. Sister Zhiyu didn't rest well last night. You can join me later and rest a lot, too. Su Tang leaned over sensible and whispered to Meng Zhiyu, lowering her eyes. Although it was a soft voice, the sound was only slightly lower. And it also comes with a microphone, so the sound is naturally recorded. Tang Tang is indeed a little angel. Tang Tang is a beautiful and kind-hearted person who is always willing to help others wherever they go. Meng Zhiyu didn't say anything, but his gaze was somewhat uncontrollable as he looked toward Shen Runing. Why can she remain calm as if nothing has happened? Last night, under her own coercion, the mother admitted that she had already known that her younger brother was by her side. I just didn't admit to buying a house for my younger brother with the money. But it's already outrageous for Shen Runing to know that her assistant is her younger brother. Does she really have some skills? What happened to Meng Zhiyu made her have to start believing in Shen Runing. Who knew? The director said. We won't group today, just arrange according to yesterday's grouping results. Ah. We won't regroup today. Everyone's gaze fell on Su Tang, as if feeling the discomfort caused by her words. She hurriedly waved her hand and explained. I don't have any objections, but when we assigned the team yesterday, Senior Jiang wasn't there. I just feel that there might be some unfairness towards him. If Senior Jiang doesn't care about it himself, then I definitely don't have any objections. Tang Tang is indeed a little angel. It's so touching to think about Yu so much, and I have a little crush on her. The audience in the live broadcast room was attracted a wave of fans by Su Tang. She can fool the audience with her words, but she cannot fool the spirits present. Everyone is just tacit agreement. However, Shen Runing quickly gained the reputation of being a broom star, and whoever teamed up with her was unlucky. No one wants to be with Shen Runing. At this moment, Jin Chuan indeed weakly raised his hand. I want to work with Sister Shen. End of this chapter.